Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Monday night live stream. It's Monday, December 27th. I hope everybody is doing well out there in the world. We are studentloanjustice.org. We are the oldest and largest and in many ways only true grassroots group in the country fighting only and absolutely for student loan justice. So if you found us, you probably hate student loans like I do, like many other people do. We're glad that you found us. We have over 1 million signatures on our petition now. Perhaps that's how you found us. I'm very glad to announce that it turned out that we were the 5th largest petition in the United States this year, according to change.org. So that's great. We were actually 10th largest last year. This coming year, 2022, there's no good reason why we can't be by far and away first. Because remember, guys, there are 45 million people in the country with student loans. Even before this pandemic, like 39 million of those 45 million people were never going to be able to repay their loans. They were either not paying at all, and that's more than half, by the way. More than half were not paying at all before the pandemic, or they were paying, but their balance was increasing. So the numbers are huge, and they are on our side. So tell everybody that you know about our petition, change.org/cancel student loans. Tell everybody that you know about our group on Facebook or just our website, studentloanjustice.org. We need them here helping us because these are their loans. This is their problem. And we are the pioneers. And you can't unhear that. We are the tip of the spear in many ways. I'm very happy to say that it was this group that got the bankruptcy issue to where it is today, where we now have a very good bill to fight for, S-2598 from Senator Dick Durbin. Nobody wants to file for bankruptcy, and this is the most important thing I'm going to tell you tonight, unless and until we get the threat of bankruptcy back, we are not going to see meaningful student loan cancellation. Look at Joe Biden. Like, sure, before the election, he sounded like he was going to cancel loans. Now it's quite obvious after the election that he will only cancel loans if he's forced to do that. That is why the threat of bankruptcy is so important. I'm just going to repeat that. We are not going to see meaningful student loan cancellation unless and until we get the threat of bankruptcy back on our side. Nobody wants to file for bankruptcy. It's a terrible thing to have to do. I get that. But the truth is, once we get the threat of bankruptcy returned, very few people, maybe even no one, will ultimately actually have to file. Just the threat of bankruptcy being back on our side alone should be enough to compel very widespread, very significant, perhaps total loan cancellation. So without bankruptcy, tomorrow Joe Biden may stand up and say, "Hey, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to cancel loans. I'm going to cancel up to $50,000 in student loans." He may say that, but the reality is that whatever he says, what will happen, and we've seen this throughout the 16 years that we've been doing this. Yes, 16 years. You heard that right. What will happen is almost nothing for almost everyone. They'll say up to $50,000, but after means testing and some application process, and after they disqualify all the people they can possibly disqualify, which will be most of them, you're not getting $50,000. You might get like $7,000. And oh, by the way, in the year that it took them to do that, your loan added another like $9,000 in interest. Guys, we're not doing that. We've learned all the tough lessons in this space the hard way. And again, we've got to get the threat of bankruptcy back. On that note, we're asking everybody to do our daily actions at our website. So go to our website, and the number one thing that we're working on this week is calling our senators. Like I said, we've got a great bill right now, S-2598 in the Senate. It's got 2 Republican co-sponsors on it, which is a very interesting and important thing because historically Republicans tend to oppose us. We're a nonprofit, we're a fiercely nonpartisan group, so you know. We pretty much hate both parties at this point, and for very good reason. But it is a fact that historically Republicans have been very tough. So we've got to push them. We've got to call our senators, in particular our Republican senators, and get them to ask them, command them, do whatever you need to do to get your Republican senator to co-sponsor S 2598. And you can just go to the website, studentloanjustice.org, and you can see how to do all that. It's very clear. So if you have any questions or comments, if you're watching us on Facebook, I am happy to respond to them if I can see them. There's a lot going on right now, guys. As I said, our petition was 5th largest. We were featured at BuzzFeed News this week, which is great. We have a interview request. If you happen to be a high school guidance counselor and you feel bad about guiding students into predatory student loan debt, then by all means, let us know if you're willing to be interviewed. There's a story going on that. So tonight, I'm just going to quickly give you a quick tutorial on how to deal with the haters. First and foremost, most of the haters don't have student loans, and they just don't know about student loans. All they know is that they hate college students, and most of them tend to be conservative. And here's what they need to know. Number one, this is not a liberal issue. It is not. 40% of all student loan, and also one of the largest criticisms that our opposition, who really want to keep this lending system going, their biggest point is that loan cancellation will benefit wealthy people. And that is just absolutely asinine and ridiculous, because here's the truth, ladies and gentlemen, 40% of all student loan borrowers never graduated. 100% of student loan borrowers, federal student loan borrowers, were determined to be financially needy as a precondition for getting the loans. The wealthiest borrowers, in other words, the highest earning student loan borrowers, they are not young, ambitious professionals generally. They are generally older people who, despite having borrowed very little many decades ago in the 70s, 80s, and maybe 90s, these people as a group on average owe triple what the younger groups owe on average. So the highest earning student loan borrowers have been wrecked generally by these loans for many years and decades, and they owe far more than younger people despite having borrowed far less in many years ago. Anybody saying that student loan cancellation will benefit the wealthy has no idea what they are talking about, and they ought to be ashamed of themselves. It's just disgusting. So I would point you, and there's other statistics as well. Even before this pandemic, 80%, 4 out of 5 of all student loan borrowers were never going to be able to repay their loans. That's probably closer to 85, 90% today because of this pandemic, I suspect. The default rate for 2004 students was 40%. And again, 2004 students were borrowing less than a third of what's being borrowed today. So my best estimate is that the default rate of everybody walking around with student loans right now was going to be something like 70, maybe 75%, maybe even higher. And that's before the pandemic, guys, before the pandemic. So this lending system is done. It's toast. It's finished. There is no saving it. There should be no saving it. The best thing that the president can do right now, literally, is to just cancel the loans and do it. Do a few people get loan cancellation that don't deserve it? Yeah, maybe 20%. But the 80%, they've been wrecked by these loans. So I think that's a fair trade-off. I don't mind a few people making a buck out of this. Do you think a few people came out ahead on the PPP loan program? Yeah, I think they did. I think a ton of people who didn't need or want the loans, and they're not even loans, guys. They didn't even need to be paid back. So come on, what are we talking about here? I'm guessing that a far, far higher percentage of PPP loan borrowers didn't need that money, and they don't have to pay it back. So give me a break. But again, guys, that thing I said at the very top, bankruptcy. Really, it's a very straight path between getting our bankruptcy rights back and seeing very widespread, very meaningful loan cancellation. Maybe you don't want your loans canceled. Maybe you just want your interest forgiven. That will happen with the threat of bankruptcy back on our side. Maybe you just, maybe you want some special negotiated deal. You're not going to get any deal at all unless and until we get the threat of bankruptcy back on our side. And maybe the most important fact that I'll put to you tonight, if and whenever they turn on this lending program, there absolutely is going to be a massive wave of defaults, because before the pandemic, less than half of everyone was paying at all. Now here today, almost nobody is paying. And whenever they turn this lending system back on, I'd be stunned if even 25% of the people actually resume paying on their loans. So we are going to see a mass wave of defaults. And at a minimum, we've got to have bankruptcy protections back on our side to prevent the lending, the collection goons, the collection loan sharks from having undue power over us. So guys, it all comes back to bankruptcy. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. I hate bankruptcy. I hate fighting for it. It's difficult. It's tough. It's unpleasant. It's not sexy, but it is absolutely vital that we get this right returned to us. So yeah, the haters, there's two things that you can say all those facts that I just said earlier to them, and that usually shuts them up. There are two pretty easy things you can do that are far easier than that, though. Number one, Google Wayne Johnson, Tucker Carlson, and student loans. Just Google that. You will find a YouTube video. And you know what? I'm not even going to tell you anything more than that. But if a conservative person is wagging their finger at you saying, hey, when I went to kids, wash them out, tax dollars pay for your loans, all that stuff, say, hey, buddy, hear it from Tucker and the Trump appointee who ran the lending program, if you don't believe me, and send them that YouTube video link. It's easy to do. It saves you a ton of aggravation and stress and frustration and all that sort of thing. Do that. It will help. And you're welcome, by the way. You can just copy and paste. It's the easiest thing in the world. Another very easy thing you can do is if you go to our Medium platform where we publish articles, where we've published like 4 articles in the past 2 weeks. I think like the maybe 4th or 5th article down is entitled "Conservatives Have a Major Student Loan Problem." Copy and paste the link to that. That will absolutely shut them up if they read it, which is always kind of an open question with certain people. But hey, we have some comments here. I'm sorry that I've been lagging on these. Hey, Gordon Wayne Watts says, correct. Many conservatives support student loan bankruptcy uniformity as the Constitution requires. Good point, Gordon. The founding fathers called for uniform bankruptcy laws in the Constitution ahead of the power to declare war, ahead of the power to raise an army. So the founders are on our side, and any conservative who claims to be conservative, they should be on our side. And not only that, you know, guys, we're fighting the colleges and we're fighting big government. Conservatives say that they hate big government and say that they hate or fear or loathe or something the colleges. So conservatives everywhere should be on our side. Also, red states are being inordinately screwed by student loan debt. And I mean screwed. Like Georgia, Texas, North South Carolina, Florida, Alabama, did I say Texas? Missouri, Tennessee, Ohio, many red states. the student loan debt in those states now exceeds their entire state budget. So look at Georgia. Georgia's state budget is $48 billion. The people of Georgia owe $82 billion in student loan debt. And by the way, my best estimate is that nationally, about 55% of student loan borrowers are either Republican or independent. This is not a problem of the liberal elite. And remember, guys, liberal elites, pretty much by definition, don't even get student loans because they have trust funds or whatever. They have got mom and dad to pay for their college. So yeah, this is a very blue collar, non-partisan issue. And tell every conservative you know that fact, because right now this problem is being so badly mischaracterized in the media, it makes me want to cry. This is not a partisan issue. There are more people, and this is an older person's issue. There are more people over the age of 35 than under the age of 35 with student loan debt. It's also a veterans issue, believe it or not. There's a million different ways that you can slice it and dice it. But there is no good reason for Republicans to be opposing us. They should be leading the charge. Look what happened in Georgia. How did that election go for them? Not too well. Another little Georgia fact. Now here is a South Carolina fact. There is enough student loan debt in the state of South Carolina to buy every farm, every tractor, I think maybe even the livestock, but for sure the buildings and the tractors, all the capital stuff. You can buy every farm in the entire state of South Carolina twice with the student loan debt in that state. I kid you not. And you'd still have $15 billion left to spare. This should be a Republican governor's issue. If you have a Republican governor, if you live in any of the states that I mentioned, you should be knocking down the freaking doors of your governor's office and saying, Governor, how could you let our state be conquered and enslaved by this predatory, unconstitutional debt? Thank you, Michael, for posting that link. I appreciate it. Hey, Gordon has a question. Does the government make a profit on non-defaulted student loans? Yes, absolutely, Gordon. 90% of the portfolio is owned directly by the federal government, and they make a boatload of interest on that portfolio. About $100 billion a year in interest alone clicks off on the federal portfolio. But probably maybe an even nastier side note there is that people don't know this. This is another astonishing statistic where most people with an economic background are not going to believe what I'm about to tell you. Years and decades of White House budget data show clearly that the federal government has been making a profit, not a loss, on defaulted student loans. I kid you not. As of 2010, the government was making somewhere between $1.14 and $1.22 on the dollar on defaulted loans. That is absolutely the craziest thing that one could ever even surmise. It's just ridiculous. A credit card company is thrilled to get back 10 cents on the dollar on a defaulted loan. The federal government is thrilled to get back like 20 cents on the dollar on all their loans, except for student loans. When it comes to student loans, it turns out that the federal government is actually turning a not insignificant profit on defaulted loans. This is a defining hallmark of a predatory lending system. This should concern you. If you happen to be a reporter out there, you should contact me and I can prove what I just said. It's a matter of public record. It's a matter of many years and decades of White House budget data. Supplementary materials, Appendix 4. So we have uncovered some mind-blowing stories on this issue that have been largely unbroken over the years, ladies and gentlemen. So, alert the media. I mean, we are more than happy to talk to any and all media. Media is by and large terrible, guys. I hate to say that. You know, we've been featured in BuzzFeed and many other places just this past week. We've been featured on 60 Minutes and in the New York Times, and we've gotten a huge Fox News, you name it. We've done a lot of stuff with the media, and they are helpful. But by and large, the media is terrible and they don't report a lot of the important facts, like what I just said about the government profiting on defaults. I probably got 7 or 8 pieces of research along those lines. Maybe they're not quite as obscene as what I just said. That's probably the worst. But there's a lot of terrible, terrible things that are going on out there, hiding in plain sight, provable by the public record, that for whatever reason, the corporate / mainstream media just refuses to report on, or they just don't want to. So, okay, guys. Well, I've gone a little bit too long here tonight, but I appreciate your questions. I will be back on Wednesday. Ed will be back tomorrow. Go to our website, studentloanjustice.org. Do our past month worth of our daily actions. It will help. Action item number 2, follow us on Twitter, Student Loan JUS number 1, and retweet our previous like 20 tweets or something. That would be very, very helpful. Third thing, go to our Medium platform and clap many, many times for the past 4, maybe 5 articles that we've written. And maybe even send a few of them to a few reporters and news organizations that you know. All this stuff helps, guys. I know a lot of people spend hours and hours freaking out about their student loans. Well, why don't you spend a few minutes helping us fight this battle? It's far more productive than tearing your hair out, and it actually gets things done. We need you. We need your efforts. We need you to get strong and own this problem, because these are your loans and this is your problem. And we've been doing this for 16 years now, and I can tell you that the only thing that's going to win this battle for us is us. We are all we've got. We are all we need. So take that seriously, please. And with that, I think I'll wish everybody a very good night. And maybe, yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. How's that? Okay, I'll be back on Wednesday. Happy holidays, guys. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Good luck with all your efforts. Let us know when you have some successes. Like getting a meeting with your Republican governor, for example, would be a smashing success, and we can help there. But let us know. So good luck. Godspeed. God bless everybody.